Greetings gamers everywhere, I'm Swipin92 and we're talking Jotunnslayer newest update, which brings us the nightmare mode and a few new weapons for all the characters. All the characters gain one new weapon with this update. And we're gonna talk about all of it, but we're gonna start off with each of the new unique weapons, because partially because it's faster to go through of those, but also because that's what you're seeing on the gameplay mostly. Now, most of the gameplay is, well, all of the gameplay actually is here in Nightmare mode, but it differs a little bit between Nightmare 1 and Nightmare 10, I believe. But we're gonna get into the weapons, and we're gonna start off with the Berserker. His new weapons is pretty decent, at least the passive is. He gains 40 plus health with that one, but the ability itself, I don't like it. He basically throws two axes in a circle around himself, which goes like 2 laps around him, and they stay in place where you throw them. Or in the where you throw them, they're gonna start off in a circle and go around. And it's a very small area. The axes, that is, they have a very small area. They're very small axes, and the damage is very minuscule. I would like to see it in, I think, a bigger area of the axes, bigger axes, and maybe a slight damage increase, because they're weak as hell, in my opinion. And nah, I don't like the active effect on those. The Seers, not much better, really. The passive bonus is decent. It's a 10% increased chance to gain a bonus skill or reward from chests and such. And bonus skill, as in when you level up, you have a chance to gain, have the ability to choose another passive or ability right away. Now, the ability, that one is hardly noticeable, I think. Maybe more noticeable in the beginning, but it has a very small weak damage and pretty hefty cooldown, I would say. And you basically throw out these blobs around with damage, both impact damage and also on the ground damage, i.e. they leave a small puddle which damages enemies when they walk over, but the damage is so small. I mean, it barely makes a dent in the enemy. I wouldn't say useless, but it's so weak. And the blobs are random as far as I've seen when I played. It didn't feel like they were even attracting themselves to the enemies or anything. It just flew random direction and just landed, and then damaged them minuscule. I mean, that's kind of what all abilities, I guess, are. All damaging abilities for the characters are very minuscule in damage. They just dare to help you slightly, but just pure damage abilities are kind of useless in this game, I think, because you get the most of your damage does come from your class abilities and god abilities, not your weapon abilities. Either way, let's move on to Revenant, because the Revenant, I do like him. I really like it because the passive is pretty good. It gives you a 5% damage reduction. I imagine all damage, but a 5% damage reduction is not bad, and the ability is good, but not for the damage. And this is where we come into that again. Damage is not good, but there's a curse chance. You basically throw out these caltrops on the ground, which is basically spikes. And when the enemy steps on them, or you throw them into the enemy, because they seem to spread towards enemies when you use the ability. So that is always a good thing. But the most important thing is that you have a 30% chance to curse enemies. And cursed enemies take 30% more damage. But I'm not sure how long this curse effect lasts on the enemies, but it is a 30% damage increase to enemies who do become cursed, and that is a really good thing. So here we see. the damage is not good, but the passive or the bonus effect to that damage or whatever to the active ability is really good, because that increases your overall damage and such. Now the Flame Sister is not bad, it's a good passive. It has 14% skill damage, or class skill damage, sorry, but that's probably about it. It has low damage, low area, really low area, but I guess if all 3 rows of attacks, basically you activate the ability and 3 rows of like knives or spikes shoot out towards or out from the Flame Sister. Now these follow the Flame Sister as you walk. You could potentially damage a enemy 3 times, which would damage them about 36 damage, which is minuscule, but the area is so low. The damage would be okay if it was a little bit bigger area, and almost every time if you want decent damage, all 3 waves must hit, and the first wave is basically right at your feet, so you need it to be hugging you to be damaged by that first one. But yeah, I like the passive enough, but the active ability, nah, not my thing. Moving on to the Warden. The Warden, and we'll start to notice a trend here, where the passive is pretty good. Extra XP, 13%, which is not bad, but I mean, I did notice the increased XP, so that's something. When you notice your passive, that's a good thing. But the ability, I did not notice it. I honestly aren't sure what it does, because the description is very vague. I thought it would be something completely different. It just says summons spirits of dwarven ancients, and then it says damage 20, charges 5, and a cooldown of 13 seconds. I was like, okay, sure, sounds cool. I thought for sure it was gonna summon a few ghosts that were gonna charge out from me or something along those lines, but no. They're summoned in a circle, and they seem to slam down where they are right as they are summoned or when an enemy is close. But I didn't notice the damage. It's minuscule. It's bad. Honestly, I'm not even sure that is what it does. Honestly, it's just how it looked. Honestly, this must be the dumbest, or sorry, not dumbest, that's unfair, but this must be the most useless active ability of all the weapons, honestly. That's my brutally honest review of that weapon. It's just, I don't get it. Let's move on before I go on to a rant here. The Kinslayer. Decent passive. Again, with a 1.5 HP regen, and health regen is always nice to have, especially in nightmare mode. But moving on to the active ability, that one is fairly good and definitely noticeable. It boosts damage reduction by 50% and your damage by 30%, and that's noticeable. Damage, not as much as damage reduction, honestly, but the buff only lasts for 3 seconds, so yeah, use it when you can, or when you really need it. Now, the cooldown isn't too bad, so you can use it quite frequently, but damn, you really notice the damage reduction. If you're getting pounded and you activate that, damage is completely gone almost. This is of course depending on what kind of passives you equipped or chosen from the gods and your own class tree, but yeah, I really like this buff. It's really effective and it gives you a good damage boost and a even greater damage reduction buff. I like it. Now, let's move on to the Nightmare mode, which is just... let's put it this way. Nightmare 1 is just a slightly amped up version of Insane. Not too bad. Nightmare 5 is... oh, this is getting serious. I might die. Nightmare 10 is... I'm fucked. Yeah. Nightmare 10 is insane. I only tried that one once, and that was in Helheim. So it might go differently if I try it on a different map. That is a bit more open, because I died in the long corridor there 2 times with the Kinslayer. So yeah, maybe try that on a more open map will produce a very different result. Either way. I don't think many builds are gonna be able to complete Nightmare 10. But I gotta say, I have the full respect for anyone who can complete Nightmare 10 with any build. Especially if you have Nightmare 10 plus a few modifiers in Helheim. If you can do that, I'll be very impressed. Now, what's different from Nightmare than other difficulties, I guess, is that it doesn't add anything except difficulty. I'm not sure if damage is increased, but I'm sure it is, and definitely health. The health of enemies is definitely increased. That's very noticeable. As far as difficulty go, as I said, Nightmare 1 isn't too bad. It's basically just insane with a slightly, maybe higher health for the enemies. I didn't notice any bigger packs or anything like that, but Nightmare 10, oof. Okay, yeah. That is gonna take some serious devotion to a build. Or some serious luck, I don't know. Well, that's all I got for the new weapon and mode update, but let's check out one exciting new thing that's coming on December 4th to Jotunnslayer Hordes of Helheim. It's a new map, and the update is called The Fall of Alfheim. It's a free content update adding a new map or a new battlefield, the Ruin of Alfheim. And it has a great description in the update here, and it talks about new objectives and modifiers and a new boss. You don't get to see the boss, which is good. I like that. They talk about a new god that's been added, a god or nature herself, Nerthus or Nerthus. Honestly, I have never heard of this deity or god in the Norse mythology, so this is very new. I'm not sure if she's based on something, but anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing what she has to offer us. And there's also a new class, the Archmage, which is a Elven Magister, and he has some great passives and attacks. It seems like he has a teleport instead of a dash. I mean, sounds great. He has specializations, 4 of them, and I'm looking very forward to seeing what he has to offer to the roster of characters. We also have a roadmap here that's updated on this November 2025, and it does state the new free content update to The Fall of Alfheim, which adds a new map, new god, and new hero. And they do say content update 3, something big and really cool is coming. So we'll just have to wait and see what that is, but I'm looking very forward to December 4th to be playing this new thing. Hopefully I can actually stream that content as well on that date. Depends on how I work. You know, day work and all that. But anyway, that's all I got for this video. I'm in Swippy92. Have a great life and hope to see you in future videos. Bye bye.